Today the world is dominated by sequels, reboots, reenactments for modern audiences. Any possible iteration of more of the same because innovation ain't cheap. So, yeah, why not? Another prequel. Which, to be clear, doesn't have to be a bad thing, but most of these media tend to fall in two categories. Bad clones of the successful predecessor, or the one who destroyed the legacy. And Doom Legacy stands tall at 30 years of innovative and sometimes mind-blowing gameplay. A new chapter is asked to match the very hard balance required to respect the heritage while proposing something new, original, and wholesome. And by the way, even a good title will drive nuts someone. That's the hard balance between innovation and continuity. And we will never, ever be all on the same page on what is too much or what is too little.
Remember, get him alive if you can!
That's somewhat subjective. But how can you be true to your legacy? At the very least, the new title should keep the same overall goal. Doom was born with a demons killing soldier. Maybe the Doom Marine evolved in the Demon Slayer, but it still got the same DNA. A game who's not afraid of being gamey, with the goal of making you feel an unstoppable killing machine. A power fantasy with demons. Sure, the identity of this series evolved a lot. Same goal, similar but different identity. That's balance. Hugo Martin, game director of Doom Eternal and the Dark Ages, said this.
You're gonna stand and fight.
You see, a good sequel needs its own personality, language,
Requiescat in pace.
and feel.
War never changes.
The basics for any good game. They changed from running to jumping and now standing strong. Someone won't like these changes, that's legit. But something must change to stay relevant
Completely in the player's control glory kill system.
and avoid the pitfalls other companies are facing. Now let's dive into what we know of the Dark Ages to understand what's cooking at id, how they're trying to approach the hard balance between innovation and continuity.
No secret leaks here. We just think this game faces an incredibly interesting challenge from a game design standpoint. And we'll try to understand from the available material how the team set up this new game to overcome it. We'll focus on continuity, innovation, and evolution from Eternal, previous and highest grossing chapter of the series. So, how will the Dark Ages be Doom? First and foremost, the Dark Ages has to be pure power. After Eternal, in Eternal you were...
Maybe he is a god.
Even if the prequel is set before Doom 2016, the brand now established the Slayer as unstoppable.
We will send unto them only you.
Now we know him as a force of nature, trampling everything on its passage. The Dark Ages can't betray this picture of him. He may not be on his prime yet, less god, but still a presence everyone must deal with. The champion.
The super weapon in the center of the war against hell.
Yeah, that thing. We don't know if the premises will deliver, but we're just focusing on the ideas behind the game, and speaking of its goal, it seems a great start. Okay, now we know the game is a power fantasy, which is great, but there's at least one element of the identity of Doom's franchise that needs to be respected, otherwise falling outside of the game's legacy: the orthogonal design of the enemies. Each one of them has its own niche, purpose and weakness, giving life to a complex combat puzzle that requires practice and learning to master. This is some of the very little we can grasp from the videos available, but the intentions seems clear. If they're doing justice to these concepts, it's easy to imagine how rich and deep this gameplay can become. With its timed parries and careful positioning, I feel some vague Elden Ring fragrance, but we really don't know yet.
Some of you may have spotted something weird in our last analysis. The game indeed seems supposed to respect the core identity of the complex puzzle, the orthogonal design, but in a complete new way, inspired by strength more than speed. This is what we call, with very little imagination, evolution. Aside from the game's identity, we find a strong evolution in the world's identity. The world of Doom Eternal was incredibly cohesive, rich, over the top, and loud. We can say almost cartoonish. But what about the Dark Ages?
It's a summer blockbuster event with everything on the line, and you are the star of the show.
A strong world building is something really hard to see, but when it clashes with the predecessors, something feels weird and underwhelming. Fans will notice that the Dark Ages world can let people down. Everyone will compare the two. Let's take a look at the answers they prepared for us. The Dark Ages is clearly influenced by the notion of a high fantasy medieval mood. Colors, shapes, environments, wars, the very concept of demon of hell. We can see brutality expressed by energetic animations, treated in a complete different way compared to Glory Kills. The mood seems inspired by the ancient gods, maybe used as a prototype for these new ideas.
You're a little too heavy, buddy.
The presence of the allies, like in the final battle, suggests a less alone Slayer, more integrated in an army, in his own world. The Drakes and the Mechs returns too, now available as vehicles. These changes testify a clear evolution of Doom. To be honest, seeing those sections using what essentially are living vehicles gave us vibes from another universe, something not very Doomish. We are talking about Halo. The old good stuff, we mean. Levels were very large and had whole sections where vehicles were tools to make the adventure even more epic. To be honest, we hope this is the case with the Dark Ages. It may not feel very Doomish, but it may be interesting to play.
Bullshit, motherfucker!
The risk to be a marketing-driven gimmick is very high. Innovation should never have the sole purpose of a jaw-dropping moment.
I have one simple request. Sharks with frickin' laser beams!
It should instead lead to a better game, with nicely integrated mechanics, jaw-dropping ones too. Levels in particular will probably break the most from the past, something the first reactions of the fans may not have underlined much, but which may become highly divisive after launch. Which leads us to the third and last chapter of our analysis.
Can you recall the maps of Doom Eternal? Levels are linear. You mainly fight into well-prepared arenas, with waves of enemies. In between, you find some minor encounters and do some platforming that allow the level designers to fine-tune pacing. Hugo Martin, during a livestream, said he liked this approach better compared to an open world, cause it allows a better refinement of the experience. The keywords were control and tailoring, but something seems to have changed.
There's always something new waiting to be discovered, enemy formations along the way, to engage with as you see fit, discovering secret caves and dungeon-like mines in search of vital resources. You control the pace of the game, where you go, who you fight, and the objectives you pursue.
This is literally nothing we saw before in Doom, and something that may strongly impact the overall feel of the game. The keywords seems to have become play as you wish. Here too we see some possible influences from Souls or Borderlands with these large maps, where you can control the pacing of the game through your actions, exploring and looting dungeons. We did see some exploration in Eternal, but from the presentation came out something on a different scale. It's rare to hear people speaking of the maps of a game, but your path, the encounters and how they're arranged define a lot of the experience. These innovations will probably lead to a game that makes for a quite different feel and game loop, but we think they really couldn't have just copied the mechanics from Eternal. The old game loop had fully been explored. Changing and fixing a pair of weapons, adding a pair of demons, is a DLC, not a successor. We think that while designing a new chapter, you need to look at what people just played and ask a question. Was the old game loop exhausted? Can we make something new? Or should we just change? Seems like they decided to change, and personal note, I love what I'm seeing. Before wrapping up this video, we'd like to point out that much more could be said. We'd love to speak of the different narration styles, the role of story and lore, but we need to keep these videos short enough. In the future we could expand on a separate video.
If you like our content, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Now back to the video.
So, nailing the right balance is hard. Developers have to choose wisely how to play with continuity, evolution and innovation, knowing that any choice will certainly displease someone, but some things are more objective than subjective. The goal of the game, the general feeling that makes you want to play a game, should be respected. In this case, the will to kill demons using power, fast decision, precision and lots of training. The identity of the game should evolve. The general feel should feel related to the established brand, but it can't just stay the same. Every game needs its own identity while respecting the legacy, genre and lore of its predecessors, to avoid failing spectacularly. The game loop, it depends. Take Assassin's Creed. The second chapter with Ezio Auditore still had wide margins to evolve Altair's game loop. But the following chapters relied on marginal innovations, and couldn't make the brand feel less tired just relocating it to Constantinople or Detroit. It took up to Black Flag to try some serious, even if strongly divisive innovation, that created an original identity, gaining positive reactions from reviewers and public as well. We thought they pushed innovation too far.
Now, whoa!
Hey, that's life. Things change, you lose some friends, you make new ones. Finally, change must be relevant, and this is not. Not really. Change must create new mechanics to discover and learn, to enjoy the game. Will Dark Ages feel doomed? Are they pushing the game too far from the legacy? We don't know, but we think their new concepts are interesting, and the wait is almost over. Good luck Dark Ages, and good luck players.